Hi, Tehran. Hello, Tehran. Hello. You're muted.
Hello.
Hello, Tehran. How are things with you?
Everything's going well. Just hold on one second. I'm just gonna. All right. I'm doing okay.
Oh, good. Good. You were having a debate with Zubaydah yesterday about the conditions of entry to heaven, were you not? That was what I remembered
Yeah, I
of
mean,
it. I
not
didn't
not
stay
necessarily
for the whole debate.
not necessarily the conditions of entering heaven, but just that whoever enters the hellfire, whether they claim to be a Muslim or not, if they enter the hellfire, it's a place of permanence for them that they will not get out. Current Sunni beliefs, not all Sunnis, but a lot of Sunnis believe that if you have like a mustard seed worth of faith in your heart, ultimately you'll go to paradise even if you have to spend some time in hellfire.
That sounds
And
fair
there's
enough,
nowhere,
you know. That sounds fair
I'm sorry?
enough. That sounds fair enough. I mean, I suppose, we think, you must be really, 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 really bad to deserve an eternity in hell. And, this is, absolutely the worst thing. And I guess most of us like to think that if we're going to hell, we surely won't be as bad as to deserve to be in hell for all eternity.
Well, the verses I cited to use as evidence that people who enter hellfire will be in there forever does mention that people who do evil and then people who do evil, truly those who do evil and their sins have encompassed them, which I take as they died without repenting or turning away from the evil they did and the sins that they committed. If they die in that state and they're thrown into hellfire, yeah, they're not going to get out. Um,
Yeah, but this, okay, if we have a chance to repent, like you know, we have a short illness or a long illness. It's like we know we're dying and we're on our deathbed and we think about our lives and we regret this and we regret that and then we repent. Fair enough. I mean, we can just repent of everything, but if we die suddenly, then we won't have a chance to repent. And maybe it's not fair. It's like maybe if you were given the chance to repent, we would have felt, expressed remorse, and then we would have been
and see,
not end up in hell for all eternity.
one guy mentioned that it depends on what you define as repentance. I think most people, when they think of repentance, it's get down on your hands and knees and ask for forgiveness and cry and all this other type of stuff. But one Muslim had put it to me that even just feeling bad about it in your heart and not doing that deed again could be considered enough as repentance. I mean, the one thing that you mentioned, I mean,
That,
I
that,
see
that,
what
that,
you're
that should
saying.
come naturally rather than, oh, I'm sorry, since you caught me. And since you caught me doing this bad thing, I'll apologize and say I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
because that
But
might not even be real. That might not even be
yeah,
a real apology, but just because you were caught, so yeah, so
yeah.
you're apologizing because of that reason. But there's nothing stopping people from asking God for forgiveness and seeking repentance at any part of the day. And in the Quran, it does warn against people who wait until they're on their deathbed. Um, and it depends on how you look at that. People who purposely waited till they were on their deathbed, or like what you mentioned, some people truly, when they get close towards the end of their life, start feeling regret about certain things and try to reconcile it in that way. So it just depends on which way you want to approach it. But I definitely believe it's for people who think that, oh, I'm just going to wait till I get on my deathbed, then I'm going to start apologizing and turning away from all these. If you're going to try to be foxy with God like that, I don't think that it's going to work. And I believe he mentioned that in the Quran for people who are going to do that. But my only thing was like the reprobate, unprincipled Muslim is going to get the same treatment in the hellfire as somebody who doesn't claim to be Muslim. Because every time the hellfire is mentioned, it's mentioned in a way that the people who enter will be in there forever, just like the people who enter paradise will be in there forever. And then it also creates a lot of complications in your theology to where you would have to explain, like, okay, um, you basically believe that the afterlife isn't a place of permanence, that there is still a transition state, when nothing like that is mentioned in the book. I mean, yeah, so that's where I was
But
at
maybe
yesterday. They were
okay,
getting,
okay. I've kind of discussed this with somebody else, and I just wanted to say that you know maybe I suppose it's possible that we might get bored of heaven. It's like, yes, it's very nice. Like, I just want to come back again and do stuff, and and then I think in this kind of heaven, it's like, yeah, well, if heaven bores you and you want to have another life, off you go, and then you get reincarnated.
well, there
So
are some Muslims who believe that hellfire and paradise might not be eternal. Like, how is
well, I
God
think it
eternal?
seems fair
And
enough.
then,
It's like, okay, well, some of us have done bad deeds and obviously need to be punished for it. And then, we get held, our feet held to, hell for a bit. So, because we haven't done anything really terrible. So, maybe a second or an hour or a day or whatever. And then it's like, okay, you paid your debt
and see, that's exactly what the Medinan Jews believed, which prompted the Revelation chapter 2, verse 80 to 81 to be sent down, is that they believed they would only spend a number of days in the hellfire and that eventually they'll get out. And God rebuked them for having that type of belief. And that's the one thing I was explaining to Zabita and Co. that God rebuked the Jews for having this belief. And I believe it's mentioned in the Quran to teach us not to follow in the same direction concerning the afterlife. And here some Sunnis come along and they adopt that very same belief.
but surely so people, okay, I mean they have to assume at some stage that I was saying the other day that the Chinese social credit system is maybe a kind of attempt to kind of award points, so people know where they stand. Like if you've done something really terrible, then you've got minus social credit points, and if you do occasional good things, you add to them. Almost like in a video game, and I suppose the totality of all our actions and our thoughts, would should be counted, and I suppose if you think of the absolute worst thing to happen is you're in hell forever, and you think, well, I really don't think I'm that bad, because I'm not this murderer, because I mean, can you think of anyone who would be in hell forever?
I mean, you asked that question on a Facebook post, and I thought it was a really good question. Um, and you also raised another good, you also raised another good question that my sins weren't infinite. I mean, I wasn't sinning for an infinite amount of time. Why am I going to spend an infinite amount of time in hellfire, for finite sins? If I'm
Yeah,
doing
it's like I'm
finite
not
sins,
Hitler. I'm not whoever you think is really really evil. Because it's like we must agree on somebody who would be in hell
but see, I wasn't
forever,
trying to
and
argue
even
who's
Hitler has
going
his
into hellfire.
supporters.
But see, I wasn't trying to argue who is going into. I was just saying that for whoever, based on whatever, and I believe the Quran does give us a stipulation on who will be entering and who will not. But I wasn't trying to debate who is going and who is not, but just that the people who end up there, they're not getting out. That was based on the verses I read. But I mean, I mean, I would suspect that Hitler, with all that he did and the anguish he caused and the lives he destroyed, I would think that yeah, he would end up in hell. But again, I really don't like to go that far on a limb and start saying who I believe is in hellfire right now.
Yeah, but I was thinking that too. It's like even the worst thing person you can think of, they'll have supporters, and they'll say, well, his mother would say, well, he was a lovely child, before he got
Exactly.
into this politics business, you know.
I
So
mean, the Germans in the time of Hitler didn't see him as the way I'm pretty sure they see him today. I mean, he wouldn't have got the support. He wouldn't have rose to where he was at if he didn't have the support of the Germans he had. So obviously, yeah, there were people who saw that Hitler's cause was a noble one. So it's very difficult to say what's evil. I mean, I guess you can't say what he did was evil. In my opinion, I believe it
Because he
was.
probably thought he was doing what he thought was the right thing,
I mean, from
right?
what I read of Mein Kampf, he felt that what he was doing was the right thing. He felt that, these people were outsiders coming into Germany, changing things. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah.
in a sense, he felt that he was right, but I think when you look at the grand scheme of things, he could have went about it a different way than the route he went.
Yes. So I was thinking about how error can be well, okay, or sin should be punished. And in law there is this idea of the guilty mind. So you kind of get away with it because if you said, well, I didn't know I was breaking the law, I didn't know, you know parking here would be a crime. I mean, it would get me a parking ticket, but you don't get away with that because you still get a ticket even though you didn't know. And there's this idea that just because you didn't know it was a crime is not enough of an excuse to allow you to be excused from it.
Now,
But
sometimes it works though.
yeah, sometimes it works because because people kind of understand that it wouldn't be fair, if you really didn't know because you didn't have the guilty mind, the mens rea required to be properly guilty of it. Because even in homicide, you can negligently kill somebody, you can recklessly kill somebody, and you can intentionally kill somebody, and that would be the most serious charge of all, that you intended to kill this person.
Yeah.
So,
What
for
you're saying
reason.
kind of reminds me of a situation with the prophet, peace be upon him, where you talk about the guilty mind, where a woman came to him and confessed that she committed adultery, and he acted like he didn't hear her like three times to kind of avoid punishment. Sounds like it's similar to what you were saying. Okay, maybe people didn't know. Um, basically just trying. At the time you were speaking, I felt like what I just mentioned was in line with what you were saying. Now I kind of lost where I was getting at with it. Um,
That's okay. It'll probably come back. But what I'm saying is this
oh, sorry.
idea of a guilty mind is uh, uh, aggravates the offence, right? You know, sometimes you really didn't know and it wasn't your fault, but what you did caused somebody to die. For example, and then there would be a case of you should have been careful, and because you weren't careful, that person died, and it is kind of your fault. But there would be the,
Like
the
one example I can give of the Europeans giving the Native Americans blankets. I know a lot of people like to say they did that on purpose, but there are studies or scholarship saying that the Europeans didn't know that these blankets had the diseases that they had, that the Europeans were immune to them. So how could they know? And the Native Americans weren't immune to them. So that gesture, that kind gesture, actually turned into a lethal one.
Yes, I mean, some things we will never know. And obviously, the people who hate us will say, yeah, and they did this thing and they did it on purpose, they're so evil. Or, they didn't know that this thing would cause so many deaths and whatever. So obviously it matters whether, somebody thought we did something on purpose or not, because it's the idea of malice. And murder was, there was this term called malice aforethought. It's like, this person intended maliciously to kill that person, and they thought about it and they still did it. Which makes it worse than oops, I didn't know the gun was loaded, or kind of
That
thing.
raises a really good question. Will we be punished for actions that we commit or actions we do that have unforeseen consequences, or we
Thank you,
commit,
thank
or
you.
we do things
That's
that
actually what I really wanted to discuss, because I guess if you want the idea of perfect justice, I don't think we should be punished for things that we really didn't know was wrong. So we just parked in this space and we didn't know we weren't supposed to, or something like that. And I suppose an omniscient God would factor in if they were going to punish us for this particular sin or crime. But I think.
that's a really good question. I just wish I was more well versed in theology to answer this. I know. See, this is where Palu would be more well versed in this type of topic concerning if will God punish us for if we do actions that have unforeseeable consequences.
Well, he's welcome to join us, but I don't think you really need any theological knowledge. You would kind of instinctively see that somebody who did
I
something
mean,
that caused the
in
death of a
my opinion,
person.
I don't believe so. I don't believe that you will be punished for unforeseeable consequences. I believe you'll be punished for clear error, committing clear error.
Yeah, but because I think that there are gradations of it. So say you did something and it caused somebody's death. Okay, no, no, we won't say you.
Or
Person,
how about this?
person.
I know an example. I'll give you an example. Somebody, you hear this a lot. When somebody gets shot, you should never get. When somebody is suffering from a gunshot wound, never give them water. Never give them anything to drink. I've heard of plenty of people dealing with people who just been shot. The person asking for water, and the person gives them water, trying to help them, and they kill them.
Really, I didn't know that you're not supposed to give them water.
Yeah, that's what I've been told, and
Okay.
from people some I heard some guy talking that he said he killed his brother by giving him water. He was trying to help him after he got shot. He gave him some water and it killed him.
Well, I guess we better check it out. See if it's
Yeah,
true or not.
but let's just say it's true. And will you be punished for something like that? And I actually think that there's a hadith. I mean, there's hadith about everything. I mean, but there's a hadith where a Sahabi, a companion of the Prophet, got injured in battle, and they needed to pray. And so his companion, so he was like, "What do I do? I have this injury; it's bandaged up. I can't make wudu properly with this bandage. What do I do?" And his companions told him to take the bandage off and still make wudu. Well, he did that, and he ended up dying. And the Prophet, I can't remember the Prophet's response. I don't know if he said that this is going to be on you on the day of judgment or something to that effect.
Yeah, so, but I think in our minds we can kind of accept that. Say we do something and it caused the death of somebody, then obviously if we didn't do anything illegal and it caused the death of somebody, then we're not to blame. But 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 if we were being careless and I suppose driving comes to mind. Careless driving causing somebody's death. Of course, you didn't intend to, but still you were guilty of careless driving, and then you would be set, and there would be a standard of what is good driving and what is careless driving, and then the next stage would be reckless driving. It's obviously reckless. You were going too fast, or something like that, and you cause somebody's death. And the next one would be you deliberately drove your car into somebody and ran them over. So,
Mm.
so I think everybody can agree that obviously the last case I mentioned would deserve more punishment than somebody who was driving and then suddenly, within the speed limit, and then somebody just walked in front of him and, and got run over. But, so we can think that, I mean, I think we would like to hope that God, if He exists, would factor in all these things, right?
Hmm.
Because that would be fair. That and if
Of
He's
course, I mean, if
omniscient,
you believe
then He
he's the
should be able
all-knowing.
to know our minds, the state of our minds as we did those things that caused that harm. So
Yeah,
like
I
what
mean,
you said
if you
about the
believe,
man giving his brother water. I mean, he was trying to help his brother, but you know, but cause his brother's death because you're not supposed to apparently give somebody with a gunshot wound any water.
yeah, I mean, and I'm pretty sure depending on the nature of the gunshot wound, maybe if you get somebody gets shot in the hand, if you give them a drink of water, I don't think it's going to do anything. But but I'm pretty sure depending on where those gun. But anyway, not to get off topic, if you believe God is the all-knowing, then yes, then you should also believe that He factors in all of these things, the things that you had knowledge about and things that you didn't have knowledge about, which goes back to the whole thing about waiting until your deathbed. You know that you've been doing wrong your whole life and waiting to your deathbed in order to repent so you can continue doing wrong up until that. until then. You can't be foxy with God. I mean, he's the all-knowing. He knows that that was your intention uh, for delaying repentance and, to when you got to your deathbed. So yeah, there's not really anything that escapes God's knowledge. So even if you were to do something that had an unforeseeable consequence, led to somebody's death, you might be punished by the law if something like that happens. But as far as punished by God, I mean, I would like to believe He takes more into account than the law does concerning these matters, and He's more merciful.
So,
So
I mean, in politics, we often find that you've made your point, or you think you have, and this person who's lost the argument should really accept your point of view because they've lost the argument, right?
right,
And but in so many of these arguments, people don't know that they've lost the argument, or they think that they've won the argument and you think you've won the argument, and how are we to prove that the right person won the argument?
yeah, that's what I was saying with Zubita yesterday. That's why I had to just get off because I felt that I was in the right. She felt that she was in the right. Everybody else she brought on felt that they were correct. And it's like, what type of standard do we have? Even though we do have a standard, I was using verses from the Quran, and they were using hadith and their own rationality. Which not saying that you shouldn't use your rationale to approach scripture, but I was coming with clear verses. You would think that the Quran is the standard, at least for Muslims. But you're right. When it comes to the debate with anybody, you have to have some type of like, how do you know who won and who lost? Because everybody's going to come away thinking that they came out on top.
We won't know. I mean, nobody living would ever know unless they go to hell and said, oh well, yeah, I was punished for all eternity, and you should know that, and I
Yeah.
did hardly did anything wrong, but I I don't know. So I
But
guess we'll
see,
we'll, we'll never know.
these Muslims like Zubida, Daniel Hakikaju, and stuff like that, who support the idea that if you have a mustard seed worth of faith in your heart, you'll eventually end up in paradise. These are the same people that complain about Muslims who support LBGTQ, Muslims who don't pray, Muslims who don't basically the unprincipled Muslims that they complain about are the same unprincipled Muslims they say will eventually get to paradise as long as they have faith. And that the fact
They'll just
once you
take
eliminate,
longer, I guess, or spend longer in hell than the principal Muslim. So they'll be, I guess,
yeah,
behind in the
yeah, I mean,
game of getting to
yeah, and
heaven.
I and if you look at it like that, then Daniel Kikaju should like end his career. He has no point. Like it just say, well, these people will eventually make it to heaven. Don't worry about it. Don't Why worry about it the way that he does? You should only worry about it
Yeah,
if you
but
really
but
feel
you
that
have
these
to say to
people
them,
were.
but you don't want to be the last one because you're so stupid and stubborn, right? You want to be able to think, well, if it's wrong, then I won't do it, because I should know better because I've been told not to do it, and I know, according to the Quran, it says this or the law says that.
Yeah, well, you
So,
still have some people being like, well, I don't know. I'd much rather keep doing this and take my chances in hell for a couple of days. I mean, because that's basically what the Jews were saying. That's basically what the Medinan Jews were saying, which prompted God to rebuke them. Like, hey, we'll just be in hellfire for a number of days. I mean, I wouldn't. I prefer not to think like that because I mean, burning period is probably the worst way to die, and I wouldn't want to burn for eternity. Um,
yeah, but maybe the problem with Jews is that they have no Jewish version of hell or heaven. They don't really talk about it. It's just not
no, they
in
don't.
their scripture at all. And then if you ask them, they'll say, we don't want to talk about these things because it's pointless because nobody knows. Except
Yeah,
that there is a good place and there is a bad place, and obviously some people do really bad things and
but
will be
see, that's
punished
because
for
it's not
longer.
mentioned in their books, though. But they're going based off that because it's not explicitly mentioned in their books, and I can understand that. And I'm basically saying the same things for Muslims, to Muslims who believe that if you just have a mustard seed worth of faith, you'll eventually get out of hell. That's not mentioned in our books. So why are you? So why are you adopting that a part of your creed?
Ah,
You
that's
know,
the mustard seed thing is from the hadith, right?
is from the Hadith. And see, the thing about it, I'm not a hadith rejector, but
Well, I mean,
hadith cannot usurp clear verses from the Quran.
it's interesting about the Jews. I mean, they often talk about converts. It's like, yeah, we've noticed a lot of Gentiles seem to want to convert to Judaism, but and they're kind of saying, but they're just not up to it, and they shouldn't really bother because what happens to them when they convert to Judaism is that they'll be punished harder. They'll be expected to conform to higher standards, which they wouldn't be able to, and then they'll just get punished, worse, than Gentiles if they just stayed no hides. So,
Mm.
so that's a attitude. I mean, the ones who think about it, I mean, the ultra-Orthodox rabbis, they would say, that they think that they're going to get some kind of advantage by converting to Judaism, but they'll just be punished harder for everything, that they do from now, after their conversion. And I think this kind of thinking, in a way, helps. I mean, a lot of people don't agree with Jews having a higher status, but that is basically, the whole shtick about their being God's chosen people, chosen to set and uphold, higher standards, for Gentiles, and that's why they're supposed to teach the Noahide laws, blah blah blah. And I suppose
Yeah.
they could say, well, Christianity was derived from Judaism, and Islam is also derived from Judaism, so we kind of kick-started the whole process. And so we are the people who hold and set standards, uphold and set standards. And I think it would be useful to use this idea too, because we can say, well, yeah, okay, you're the people who set and uphold standards, but you're not doing it, and that's
Yeah.
why the world has gone wrong.
Yeah, I would actually extend that to all the people who believe in the Abrahamic God. That I believe a lot of the world's problems that are going on is because we've gotten very soft. I don't think we should go back to crucifying people because they have differing doctrines, but definitely believers in the Abrahamic faith have gone soft against evil,
Well,
and
yes.
not really putting in, not really doing what is prescribed in the books they believe in. I mean, I know you mentioned it all the time about chapter 18, verse 4, that it's a duty on Muslims to,
Admonish those who claim that God has begotten a son. So,
yes,
so
exactly.
but everybody has this sort of pick and mix, cherry picking approach. It's like, ooh, I don't like that verse, I'll just ignore it, which is
Yes.
basically what everybody does, right?
And see, that's what I think that the Hadith does sometimes. Like, okay, I don't like this verse in the Quran, so here's a Hadith
Telling me
to
I can ignore it.
exactly, exactly.
So I think maybe we should just have higher standards of debate. Because my main gripe with a lot of political activism is people are prepared to lie. People are prepared to be
Yeah, people are for
illogical.
people to abandon their own principles. You see this with Muslim activists all the time. That's why Omar Suleiman gets a lot of crap, and there's other Muslim activists who get a lot of crap because in order to be an activist in certain circles, you have to let go of your principles, especially to be a Muslim. If you're a Muslim and you're trying to be an activist on the left side of politics, you
You've got
have
to
to
work with
abandon.
LGBTQ.
Yes, you have to abandon some of your principles as a Muslim in order to do it.
Daniel Hakikatju is quite good about Islamic principles, isn't he? Do you follow his
I
do you,
follow. I follow him. I follow him. I've been following him for a while,
mm-hmm.
and I don't necessarily agree. I think that he's a necessary voice,
Yeah.
and but I don't like his bull in a china shop methodology isn't. I don't believe it's. Now some people might disagree. So me and Palu had this conversation about what methodology you should go about as far as giving dawah and stuff like that. Um, some people might agree with that. Daniel, he did amass a huge following. I mean, within
Because
one
he's
day he'll have.
clear. That's a thing. It's like, in a way, you have to kind of be very clear, and that means sticking to
Taking a hard
certain
position.
principles that give you a reputation for being hardline. He's a hardline Hadith follower, isn't he? Because of his views on apostasy, because he wouldn't back down on saying, well, actually, it doesn't say in the Quran that apostasy is attracts a death penalty, because the
Yeah.
Quran actually implies
Well,
that God
I'll
will
send you an
punish you
interview.
for it, but you have no
I'll
earthly
send you an
punishment.
interview with I'll send you an interview with Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. He's actually he did an interview the other day talking about this, or a week ago talking about this, about how punishing people based on Quranic injunctions and not using unreliable hadith in order to take life.
Yeah, because it's so obvious to me. It's like, if you think the Quran is the directly revealed word of God, and the Hadith is just stuff written by men, then obviously you should always go back to the primary source of the word of God.
Exactly. Exactly, and only use the hadith and to support clear verses of the Quran. But
Exactly.
you can't have a verse of the Quran says one thing and then a hadith says another. But oh, the hadith is mutawatir or it has a strong chain, it's massively reported or whatever. But
And
it
we've been
clearly
doing it
contradicts.
for hundreds of years, and that's another reason. We're not going to change
And
now.
exactly. But we've been doing the Quran since the beginning of this whole religion. And we believe the Quran was a direct communication from God to the Prophet. While the Hadith, in the English translations, you won't see this, but if you read the Arabic, it says so and so said that 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 he heard from the Prophet and he said, it's just that's not. I mean, although I'm not going to say that is necessarily makes it unreliable, but that's definitely not as reliable
Chinese
as the way that we
whispers in
got.
the Hadith.
That's basically what it is, and that's not the way that we got the Quran. So Hadith by its very nature can never rank higher than the Quran.
Yeah,
Even mutawatir or whatever is still going by way so and so said that so and so said that so and so said so and so said, and even Muslim Sunni scholars have said that these hadiths that we have are not verbatim. They've been paraphrased. It's just a lot of them just really encapsulate the essence of the message. Not every word that was said by this person was recorded exactly how they said it. So again, I'm not a hadith rejector. I believe they lend some type of support to the revelation I believe in, but there's certain things I can't the hadith can't do, and one of them is contradict clear verses in the Quran. And
yeah.
that's the only thing that I'm saying. A lot of Muslims have, we read the Quran, but then we read other things into the Quran via extraneous sources. I know we're probably getting off topic. I don't want this to be I know you were talking about it started from punishment in hellfire. Will people get out and stuff like that, or will you be punished for, you know? Uh, so yeah, I don't want to go too
Yeah.
far off topic.
So, thank you, but I'm quite interested in what you say, because I mean, I'm sure not everything in the Hadith is wrong, and but there must be some clear idea that the Hadith must be subordinate to the Quran, and
Yes,
and and
there is.
and, and we're,
That's how
we're
some
both
schools are
agreed on
taught,
that.
that the Hadith is subordinate to the Quran. Yeah, yeah, I believe that. I believe the Hadith. That's actually in the Ibadi school. The Hadith is subordinate to the Quran. Actually, in early school Muslim schools, the Mu'tazila, they believed in the same thing, that they didn't accept all Hadiths. I mean, I tell you the truth, if there's a million Hadiths out there, I'm pretty sure there's only 1% of them that are factual, if that. I mean, if you look at the well-renowned Hadith collectors, Al-Bukhari being one of them, he collected 600,000 hadiths and he only kept like 6,000. And then those 6,000, a lot of them are just are the same hadiths. So it's even less than that.
Yes, we were talking about how much people should be punished for a particular sin, and I was just saying that because of the nature of these arguments, these political, religious arguments. I mean, like the one about, who whether people, end up in hell forever. I mean, the things we will never know, but I guess we can sort of say that if everything were justly, if punishment were being justly measured, then it would all be perfect anyway. And okay, we don't, some of us will get to heaven quicker because we avoid all the mistakes, we avoid all the sins. If any error is pointed out, we immediately correct ourselves, right? And then, therefore we avoid sinning. We don't waste time and energy going down the wrong road. But for a lot of people, you tell them, and they argue with you, and then they think they've won the argument. So,
Oh yeah, I
what you gonna do with that?
Well, see, that's why I stopped engaging. Really, it's only been coming on YouTube and doing live discussions that I engage in theological debates. But for the last like 4 years, I told myself I wasn't going to anymore, just
Because
for
it was
that
so
very reason.
frustrating.
It's very frustrating. I don't want to say like it's very. I'm just saying you know you're right, and this person is wrong, and they maybe have a bigger following. They might have more people watching who like them, more friends watching. So everybody sides with them just because they like them, and they
Yeah,
don't like you or don't know you, even though you came with the strong. It's just point. And then religious folks are the worst when it comes to these type of debates. They hear the truth, don't want to acknowledge it because it contradicts whatever doctrine they adopted. Yeah, so there has to be a standard. And unfortunately for Muslims above anybody else, we should have that standard in the Quran. But because there's a lot of other things that came after the Quran was revealed, hadith, scholarship, opinions, and stuff like that, now today anybody can Google whatever fatwa, hadith, Quranic verse, everybody's a scholar because of Google. Now that just complicates things even more. So there's,
but I think I've got a way of objectively working it out,
if you
and
do, that'd be,
I
open to
keep,
hearing.
sorry.
If you do, I'm open to hearing it, and I would like to see it implemented.
Right. So, can you think of an argument that that most people will agree, X1 rather than Y1, and I guess I've tried asking people, like, we make it easy to follow. We argue about something. You say this thing and I say that, and it will be an exchange. It will be one sentence. Each person has one sentence, or whatever. So at least, or I don't know. I mean, just one point to make, right? So people can
True.
follow each chain of reasoning, you see,
Yeah.
to see who won. And I actually tried to do it with Church of Entropy, but she wouldn't do it. I think we can guess the reason. So I and I think, and okay, my problem is that people just don't want to discuss the subject. They won't even engage, so you can't make your point, right? You can't even make your point because they won't talk to you, because they're already
Yeah,
never
that's
going to lose the argument, so they won't talk to you.
Yeah, I know a few people like that. I know some people like that. They won't engage with you on a topic. Heck, man, I went walking with a friend of mine the other a couple weekends ago, and we were inviting another mutual friend, but this mutual friend didn't want to go because I was going, and me and him have a disagreement about interracial marriage. And because he doesn't want, he's a product of an interracial marriage, but because he doesn't even want to hear what I have to say, or at least and I think that I'm right. He knows that I have some strong points, and he just rather just avoid me altogether.
Oh, he's against it, and you're for it. Is that?
I'm not against interracial marriage or anything like that. I'm not against it or anything like that. But I definitely see that I'm a little suspicious about it. Not all interracial marriages, but some couples, some certain pairings I'm suspicious about.
Which
Not trying to say
pairings?
that specifically black men, white women. I'm kind of suspicious about those pairings and how they end up. And then looking at a lot of other different reasons.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I was watching interracial. I was watching it. I was actually a documentary on my YouTube channel, interracial dating in England,
mm-hmm,
between black men and white women,
mm-hmm.
and basically, I was just saying that I believe that it's a lot of these relationships happen based on more so on lust and not love. And I was going based off of a lot of the reasons why white women said they wanted to date black guys. A lot of times it never had anything to do with, oh, I believe he's a good person. I think he's a good father, or black men are very intelligent or something like that. It's always, oh, he can dance, he's good in bed, he has a big whatever member and stuff like that. Things that are just very tangible. Nothing intangible about these men that you like besides their
Yeah,
appearance, they can dance and stuff like that. And I find things like that to be problematic in interracial dating. If it was that you felt that you really liked him because of his personality, who he was, that's fine. But just saying a list of things that maybe all black guys have, and doesn't distinguish one from the other, I think is yeah.
yeah.
And then also
I'm
look at
just a sex organ to you. That's all you see me as, and and um
and then the
and
Caribbean
it's also
community in the
degrading,
UK.
I think, to be seen as, a pair of breasts or, a
Yeah,
large
no,
sex
definitely,
organ.
definitely, definitely. And that's one thing. And also the inter. I know Black American men get a lot of crap for dating outside of our race a lot. I mean, really, we only date outside of our race like 23% in the United States, and there's other people who date higher than that outside. But I was shocked when I
It is
found
a
out that
kind of
50.
racism in a way,
I,
because
I was shocked to find out that 50% of the Caribbean community in the UK marry or exclusively marry or date white women. And I just found that number to be um,
disturbing.
abnormal. Yeah, I found over 50%. Now, that's only 50% for white women. That's not a factoring in all the other races that these men might go after. And then you look at the highest mixed children in orphanages or whatever are at a higher disproportionate rate than say fully black kids or fully white kids or Asian kids, mixed. So I'm seeing a lot of stuff in there that's not looking good. And when I started calling these things out or just questioning these things, I got a lot of pushback, specifically from the Caribbean community and people who were the product of mixed parentage.
Well, I think if you think of the shallowest reasons for black white pairings would be the white woman thinks the black man is better in bed because he's got a bigger thing, and I guess the black man would find the white female attractive because he thinks that
He
she
thinks
has
he's
higher
leveling up.
status than.
Yes, exactly.
So the very unloving ways of regarding your. I mean, you're basically seeing your other race sex partner as a trophy.
Exactly, exactly, and I don't believe that's how a relationship should form, and that's why these relationships don't work out that well. I mean, black and white women interracial dating has the least successful, has the highest rate of divorce, and then the least likely races to get together, a white man and a black woman, has the highest success rate of any marriage, even of a white man and a white woman.
Sorry, oh, you're saying black and black pairings are even less likely to be successful. Is that what you said?
No, no, no. I'm saying that while a white woman and a black man is the most common interracial pairing,
Mm-hmm.
they're the least likely to succeed. They have the highest divorce rate.
Okay, so,
While
so
the while the two least likely interracial pairs to happen, a white man and a black woman, they have the highest success rate in marriage, the least likely to divorce, even when compared to a white woman and a white man. The black woman and the white man are least likely to divorce.
I see. That's interesting, isn't it? What do you
Yeah, but
think
they're
is
the
the
least
reason
likely
for
to come.
that?
I don't know. They're both the most race loyal. when it comes to dating, black women and white men. But when they pair with each other, they have the least likely to divorce. I don't know. I've been trying to wrap my head around it. And I was talking about it a lot on my Facebook a couple months ago, but because I was getting a lot of crap and people were really getting upset by me even just talking, and people just flat out denial. I had one Caribbean guy said, "Oh, well, I've lived in the UK my whole life, and I don't know any Caribbean guys that date white women." And I'm like, "You live in London? That's a goddamn lie. How do you not know not a single one or never seen it before?" You know, it's because people don't want to. It's just people don't want to admit that this is what's going on, and it doesn't look good on the Black Caribbean community because it makes it look like the black men hate their race or something like that.
Well, I think gender relations dictates that all races in Britain have men and women who hate each other. I think that that is, at heart the problem.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're right. And I really didn't look at it that way until talking to you. That similar problems are happening in the Europe or the white European community. That there's a gender war going on. Um,
I mean, the
but
thing is,
it's
everybody feels threatened because, there is this sort of other ethnicity of, mixed parentage people coming up, and, black or white, both of them, both black and white communities feel threatened by these mixed race people.
But see, I think the white community feels more threatened than the black community when really the black community should feel more threatened than the white community. Because, unfortunately, black people are under the notion, I don't believe in the one drop rule, but anybody who believes in the one drop rule believes that any amount of African blood, that just makes you black. And a lot of black people are under the assumption that, oh, if you're half black, you're just full black. Any type of, if you're half black, your mom's white, your dad's black, oh, you're just black. But I question, do the product of these relationships see themselves that way? And when you look at their dating habits, when you look at mixed people and who they date, they don't mixed people actually really don't go and date another black person. I think it's like 80% of mixed biracial people, they end up marrying white European.
Right. I guess
So
people want to.
so eventually you'll see that that eventually these people just kind of mix back into the white population, whereas they don't go back to the Caribbean. You know, yeah, they don't marry anybody who's somebody who's biracial. You really don't see them marrying somebody who's Caribbean or black or fully black. They tend to marry somebody who might be biracial like themselves, or like I mentioned, 80% of the time they tend to go towards somebody who's white.
But I think even black people have a kind of, they think it's better to be fairer than to be darker, right? I mean, even
Yeah, it
amongst.
depends. There's certain yeah, there's some that think that, but then there's some that think that that don't believe that. I mean, you'll hear a common running joke theme in the black community. He acts that way because he's light skinned. Like like any type of reprobate behavior in the black community is because you're light skinned. Or
Right.
so yes, you'll have it on that. You'll have on one side like okay, yeah, you have on one side that, all right, yeah, being lighter is better, and light skin is highly prized, yes. But then on the flip side, you'll have people saying, oh, because you're light skinned, which they're taking it as you're mixed with more European than the rest of us. That's why you're acting like this. This is why you're so dysfunctional. You're confused.
Well, you can't win either way, and I guess
You
people
can't
will just
win,
use any old lie to try and put us down if they get
of
annoyed with
course,
us.
of course.
But I mean, okay, it's my theory that it's not really race that's bothering, or people. It's this sense of uncertainty, that everything is changing and getting mixed up, and the race mixing is part of that swirl of confusion that's sucking us all in. And therefore, I don't know, what should people do? I mean, you can't sort of say all mixed race relationships don't work, because some of them do, and it all really depends on the individual, and I guess you can
Yeah.
work out why most relationships
No,
fail.
no, I'm not saying that mixed relationships don't work. I'm just saying that the intentions behind some of these pairings make it to where it's not going to work. If you're only getting with black guys because of these tangible reasons, eventually you're gonna. I don't believe that's enough to make a long-lasting relationship.
No.
And I see a lot of these relationships starting off like that,
Shared
producing
values.
children. Yes, I believe it's shared values, and that's another thing that they said that they were. I was reading a paper about. Oh, sorry. I was reading a paper about how relationships like this can start in a more natural, um, and how they can be successful. And a lot of times it's when two people, they can be of a different race. They go to like university, so they're in the same space, university, same work, same background, same economic, same education achievement. These type of things kind of level the playing field, for people, because they're looking at you as somebody who is an equal. They're in the same space as me, same educational attainment, makes the same amount of money. So they're looking, at least the way the article was explaining it, it puts things in a different perspective than, okay, you have an idea of what a black person is supposed to be. And I'll have to find the article again, because I feel I'm not explaining it correctly, and I don't want to just start rambling.
Oh,
But
that's okay. That's okay. I mean, we could talk about how we can decide who really won the argument using objective standards of assessment.
yeah, I like your point by point, uh, doing it point by point. I say a sentence or make one point, then you either respond and then make a counterpoint, which is just about one sentence, small phrase or small, you don't say a whole lot. And that way things don't get all spun out of control. We start introducing different arguments, or we go on different topics, or, your point is a paragraph with many different points. And when I respond, I'm only touching on a couple of them, or probably don't even touch on any of them. Yeah, so I
Shall we
actually
try
like
do
that.
that? Or Facebook is ideal for this sort of thing.
It is. It is. But people, the thing about typing, because the way I type and the way I talk come across totally different. I type like I'm an asshole. And that's why.
I'm sure you don't.
No, I'm serious. Like I really believe like people are totally turned off by my typing, because I'm just like, I'm not very colorful. I'm just like straight to the point. But that's why I like having discussions, talking like this, because I feel like I can represent myself in a truer manner.
Oh
But
right,
people are turned.
yeah. I mean, I'm only here because I don't know. There's so many ways that you can get your point across, and then you get it across, and people just say, "Yeah, so what? You won the argument. So what?" It's like, "Oh, I'm just going to pretend you didn't, or pretend I don't understand what you said," or they genuinely don't know that they've lost the argument. Because
Yeah.
just because they can think of something to say, means that they haven't lost the argument. You know.
And I told you that's like the unwritten rule on Facebook. The last person, whoever stops commenting, lost. And so you're gonna have people commenting. Look, I commented on a post I posted like 4 or 5 days ago. People still commenting, still have something to say. And I'm just reading these like, I shouldn't even engage, because I don't want this to keep going. You know,
Yeah,
but
then it becomes like, yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. You know, so. But
but
yeah,
yeah,
it either becomes an
there needs to be some kind of
endurance
standard.
test.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there needs to be some kind. Yeah, yeah. You said there needs to be an endurance test, or
Well, in a way, it sort of is, or and then you think, well, if they block me, then I've won. you know,
yeah. Oh, you definitely won. That's like fatality. If you get blocked, that's the fatality. You didn't only win, you totally knocked them out the ring.
So I guess you
So
need a third party. Okay, just two people, you'll never get anywhere because you're evenly matched, I suppose, even if the other person doesn't know they lost the argument. You need a third person that which both parties have to agree on. They need an arbitrator basically.
Yeah.
So otherwise you'll never get anywhere. So,
Yeah, but you would hope that arbitrator isn't in somebody's pocket.
yeah.
Because I tried to explain that to Zubida on your channel, that if you're going to have a platform like the way that you have it, you need to be a better moderator. Um, because she really actually has something. It doesn't have the same steam like it used to, and she deletes all of her live streams now, for
Oh,
whatever
she's
reason.
afraid of getting a strike.
Probably, probably. But she's
Yeah.
not going to. But if you also notice, her subscribership hasn't gone up either. I mean, because if anybody who comes across her channel and see the last time you streamed was like 3 weeks ago, it looks like you're inactive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she has a kind of tried and tested form of streaming, which could be very powerful, and I know that YouTube are probably cracking down on things. I know some. I mean, Luke Ford got a strike. I got a strike for an old video.
Mm.
Apparently
But
for
they're no, YouTube and Facebook are doing that. I've gotten things on Facebook recently from videos I posted like 3 years ago.
you got what
Yeah,
you
they took it.
they took it
They took it
down.
down. They took it
Bloody
down. Videos.
hell!
Like I had one where these Jews. I don't. It was some Jews dancing to this. They weren't dancing. It was like a whole bunch of clips of Jews dancing, like having a really good time, and then rap music was put over it, and it just looks like they were really dancing to the. I'll send it to you if I find it. I'll send it to you if I
Yes,
find
please.
it. But it was really good though. It was really good. I thought it was. I have one of Muslims as well, but they didn't take that one
Yeah,
down.
I don't know why. Okay, I think about 2 accounts ago I did this really stupid thing, and somebody just said I posted a music video and I got disabled from commenting for 30 days, and I thought, well, what was it? It's like Screwdriver, and I thought, oh, I like Screwdriver, and so I listened to it and I posted it. I don't know what it's like. It's like what was I thinking of? So I got. I couldn't actually believe that. I thought he must have done something stupid. More than just post a Screwdriver video. I don't know if you know them, but they're kind of white nationalist music, but in a kind of punky melodic way. So so yeah, that was how I got my Facebook jail time.
Yeah, yeah. But I've only gotten one strike on YouTube, and I haven't gotten any. But they have taken down. I mean, they've taken down my videos. They haven't given me a strike. Like I used to upload who was it, Anwar al-Awlaki. Still to this day, I think he has the best recorded Sirah of the Prophet series, the biography of the Prophet. He recorded it. It's like he did like 42 hour long, 42 1 hour long series on the life of the Prophet. But
He was a
unfortunately,
guy who
Anwar,
got droned, right?
yeah, his family, him, then his son, like a couple weeks after, and I think recently his daughter got killed, not that long ago.
Who by?
U.S. He was killed by the U.S. military, and so was
Yes.
his son and his daughter.
Well, in the same,
Drone strikes
in the same, right, right.
region. Yeah, same region. Because if you look at who Anwar al-Awlaki is, Anwar al-Awlaki was he wasn't like a scholar of religion. And to the truth, early in the 90s in the United States, you really didn't have a whole lot of scholars of Islam like that. You may have had some people who took a few classes, maybe went overseas for a couple of years and came back, but no like true scholars. So the door was open for anybody who could like read a lot of books and remember a lot of things. So Anwar al-Awlaki was really smart, and he rose to a place of prominence in the Muslim community. Like even if you hear the way he talks, he has such a sweet, like calm way of talking. So then the 9/11 thing happened, and he was one of the scholars along with Hamza Yusuf who was invited to the White House to figure out what to do with what happened after 9/11. And he saw that this is like a plan to, or he thought it was a plan to invade the Muslim world or Muslim countries and do a whole bunch of damage, and he was totally against it. And from there, he was like, forget this. He tried to warn against it in the United States for a bit, like what was about to happen with the Iraq invasion and all this stuff, like going to Afghanistan and stuff like that. And eventually, he just became more, I hate to say radicalized, but he became more extreme, joined Al Qaeda, and moved his family to Yemen. And then that's when you see a lot of his content like change, like almost scary change. Almost where you would see him as a different person change. To where now he's talking about you know harming innocent people and things like that. And so because he took that route in the last part of his life, all of the good things he did prior, the series I mentioned, that anything that mentions him on YouTube will instantly be taken down. Totally, because he made that wrong move and it totally discredit all the good work that he did. That's a shame too, because
Yeah.
he did a lot of good work, recorded a lot of series. I told he did the biography of the Prophet. That was like 42 videos, hour long. He did his companions. He got, and then it ended up costing not only his life but his son's life and his daughter. You know,
Not the way to go down.
not the way to go down. Exactly.
Inciting violence and he
Inciting, yeah,
was
exactly.
what he was actually properly a terrorist, wasn't he? Did he?
Yeah, yeah. You would have to say that he was properly a terrorist. Yeah, at the end of his life, even and the people who know Anwar, who known him, who personally knew him, um, they feel really bad about that because again, he didn't. If you've seen he didn't come across like the way he ended up was not how he was when he started, and he really got a lot of people to like him. And hell, I used to listen to all of his shit when I first, I didn't even know he had went that route. He had went that route when I first converted to Islam, and I didn't know. I was listening to a lot of his old stuff, and then I came across the newer things, and I was like, man, I didn't know how to reconcile it because I was a huge fan already.
Gosh.
But
Yes, I think all political activism has to be measured, but I think that there is a lot of difficulty in deciding what to do for the best. So I guess there are two extremes. The people who are too scared to say anything, and the
yeah,
people who
I
go
think
too far.
Carol Quigley phrased it best when he said, "What we fight for in history is never what we actually get."
And so it's necessary to use the right words and now everything, the situation is fluid because a lot of nationalists are complaining that even talking about demographics is going to get you a strike, or I don't know, or words to that effect. So
Yeah,
so so
probably.
there are
I don't.
trigger words.
There is look. When I was sitting in uni and I saw how my white female teacher, was running white men through the mud, I knew that there was something going on. There was something strange. Like I'd never heard this kind of talk before, you know. And I do believe that there is a hit job on white men right now, because it's fashionable.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, watching that stream yesterday that I know you're probably not aware of. I think a lot of white men do hate white men. White women do hate white men,
Of course, I believe it.
and a lot of
I
white men
believe
do
it.
hate white women. So there is a problem there. But they can't
We're
talk
caught
about
in a
they can't
civil.
talk about it in a rational way, because there's always these white men who think they deserve sex just for being white and male, and the women disagree. And also I know that there are a lot of entitled women who think they deserve a prince when they're not that attractive.
I know, and that's why I referred you to Kevin Samuels, because he's the master at putting this perspective. Because he talks to women, he has women come on, and he was okay. Well, what kind of man you looking for? what do you want, or what kind of lifestyle do you want, or how many kids do you want? And then he starts asking. They say, "Oh, I want 3 kids." Well, okay. How much money does the man need to make in order to provide for this? And then they say, "Oh, well, he needs to make 200,000, $300,000 a year." And then he turns the question on them: What are you coming to the table with that would make a man who makes $300,000 a year want to be with you? And then that's when it goes all, then you see the look. You should really look up Kevin Samuels, what he does for women and for men as well, because he's actually helping out the average Joe by getting these women to realize that their standards of men are way too high, and they're not even the type of women who deserve these type of men anyway. Because I see that a lot going on with women, like what you said, that they're entitled. They believe that they all deserve a prince. But then we can look at Meghan Markle and see that the whole prince lifestyle
All this cracked out to be.
isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Same thing with women who's I want a guy who's 6 foot tall and all this other type of stuff. Man, that one basketball player, Steph Curry, um, his wife, he's over 6 foot tall, plays basketball, makes six figures a year over that, and his wife was still complaining about how she wished she got attention from other men still. So people are never happy even when they get what they claim to want.
Yeah, they just want the next thing. And I think, part of the problem with gender relations, which, at least the feminazis kind of know it's really important because they have it as a subject that you can get a degree in at university. And it's like men aren't even talking about it. They don't seem to get it, that gender relations is, having good gender relations is imperative for the survival of your society, including your race and nation. So
True,
yesterday,
I agree.
and one of the more interesting things about the stream yesterday was there were all these sort of men whinging, and then they think, oh, it's terrible that we have to lie about our political views because if we told these women what we really think, they wouldn't let us, they wouldn't let us touch them with a barge pole. So we have to lie, and then when we,
Of course, I've heard of I used to talk to this white lady. I was interested in her back, a while ago. It was a long time ago, like maybe 10 years ago. I was interested in her, but she had a kid, and the kid was mixed. He was a mixed kid. And I remember she used to tell me like, yeah, she's going on dates because she was still interested in white men, even though she had a kid with the black guy. She was still interested in white men. She told me how she go on dates with white men, and she used to tell me like and she was from Georgia, so she used to tell me like a lot of the racist things that she used to hear from these white guys, like sometimes not even called for, And she said that totally turned her off from a lot of white guys hearing that type of stuff. So yeah, I believe it that a lot of these women, if you come, because I don't know, I don't come across too many like overtly racist women. They might have their preference, but I just don't come across white women who are just like come with that same energy as you might see with white men concerning racism. So I can see why they might be turned off from it. Um,
well, I think men would be more racist than women anyway, because it, men probably have more to fear from other groups of men entering their society.
I would push back and say that in the Black American community, I would say that it's the opposite.
What do you mean?
That I would say that I don't want to say Black women are more racist, but I would just say more race loyal. I would say white men are more, instead of saying, yeah, I guess you can say racist if that term works. Yeah, I would say
Okay, race loyal, I suppose. But
yeah,
I'm saying,
or racist as well. I know a lot of Black women who see Black men or white women dating Black men as a threat.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because it means, well,
Where
there'll be fewer men for us to choose from, kind
exactly,
of
and
thing.
then and I don't know if white men feel the same way, but I know white men don't look highly upon white women. I'm not gonna say I know, but I'm aware that some white men aren't too highly of white women who dated or who date or dated Black women. To be honest, I mean, even though I'm married to a Somali, I was talking to a Somali guy on over Zubita's live stream, and he flat. And I know I see this from Somali men sometimes when they see me with my wife, or they find out that my wife is Somali or something. They feel some type of way. And I had one dude say, "Oh, your kids aren't Somali. Your kids aren't Somali because they're not full Somali. They're not Somali." And I was taking that, "Oh, man, you're just sour."
Yeah, I mean, the Somalis have a very distinctive physical characteristics. You know, you sort of look at them and you think, oh, I bet you're from Somalia, and you're usually right.
Yeah, yeah, East Africans in general, or at least the Horn Africans, because if you go to like Kenya, they might look like you kind of can't distinguish them from West Africans too much. But yeah, East Africans in that region, yeah, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti, um, Eritrea, yeah, they have a distinctive look from West Africans or the rest of
Yeah,
Africans.
they're just taller and leaner, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, their bone structure, that which would make them better runners and better swimmers than West Africans. That's what I learned in my ethnic diversity class.
Okay. They're better swimmers
Yeah,
and
yeah, because of
runners.
their
That's
physical features, they would
racist.
be. Well, this was 2006, so all this hasn't didn't catch on like that. It wasn't popular to throw that around like that.
Yeah.
Everything's racist.
But the thing is, I think you can think well of somebody because of their race and be racist, because it's not really a kind of, I'm offended because you said this thing about a particular race. It's like you have a stereotype of people of a particular race, and you think that just because you've seen one that fits a bill, you think they're going to, display all these characteristics of, having a large sex organ or being wealthier or being, whatever. People, you know, too many people, I think, make their marriage choices on the basis of, you're from this race. I won't ask any further questions about you because I assume you're, X, Y, and Z. And,
Yeah,
and they do themselves a disfavor, even though they think that person of that race is better than them. But I'm saying, you made
definitely.
a wrong choice because, it's wrong. So,
Definitely, and that's going back to why I believe the interracial dating marriage thing doesn't work with black men and white women, where the white woman is using the black man because of something tangible, and the black man is using the white woman because he feels she's an upgrade. I think, yeah, if that's the basis of why, yeah, it's not, of course, yeah, they're not going to work.
I think for these pairings, I think it was an Islamic sage who said that for marriage, he wasn't talking in terms of race. He was talking about class. So the man should always be in a higher class than the woman. But if it's the
Yeah,
other way around, it doesn't work because I guess he won't be able to assert authority. If she's from a higher class than him,
I don't know if he said that, but I know Imam Malik, one of the founders of the four schools of thought in Sunni Islam, Imam Malik said that the man and woman shouldn't be unevenly yoked, or that, yeah, the woman shouldn't be of a higher status than the man. But I don't know if it's because, even though there's situations where that had happened, where women had slaves and they married the slave, in Islamic history, even though it wasn't looked highly upon. But
yeah.
I can see it though. Women, hey, again, I just refer to the black community, and it's starting to happen in just about every other community where women are doing better than men, education, financial wise, and all that stuff. It does create an imbalance. It does create an imbalance. Wes, I think that's one of the reasons why marriage has taken such a hit in the black community is because women are doing better than men, and because women are doing better than men, they're going to be looking for men who are doing better than them.
Exactly,
And
and men
when
can't compete, and that's why they get bitter and
And see, this used
angry.
to be just a black problem. This used to be just something that, but you're starting to see it starting to creep out in all other communities. I'm seeing it in the Pakistani community. I'm seeing it in the Somali community, where more women are going to college, doing better as far as financially, and it is creating a imbalance.
Yeah,
You
which
know,
is why
where
feminism will ultimately destroy your society.
yeah.
Because the men just can't compete and they will give up or fine,
But see,
do
men
God
don't
knows what.
realize that them not even wanting to compete is only giving power to feminism. I mean, I think you were the one who mentioned it that got me thinking like all these men not willing to marry and engaging in premarital sex is only giving power to feminism. When you find that feminism, we're talking about just having uncontrolled, not talking about only, but one of their goals and objectives was to destroy marriage between men and women. And I was on listening to a live stream. It was nothing but black guys, probably 200, 300 people watching, nothing but black guys. The vast majority of the people on the live in the comment section and on the live stream were anti-marriage. You know, they straight up refused to get married. They don't not interested in it and everything. And I can only look at these people like you guys are finished. You guys are only giving power to that which you hate. You know, um,
Yeah,
but
I mean, MGTOW is an understandable response to feminism, but it is not the solution to
yeah.
feminism.
Because I used to be on the MGTOW hype. Oh, I'm just gonna go my own way, forget these women. I'm just gonna focus on myself. I mean, it's good in that sense. If you, yeah, don't focus so much on women. Yeah, try to build yourself up and stuff like that. But if you're really trying to build yourself up, women are gonna be attracted by that. Women will be attracted to that. You know, if you're really trying to do what it takes to improve yourself.
Yeah,
But
so don't mess around, waste your time and energy screwing around when you could be building yourself up. Because, well,
exactly.
women can be very time consuming and energy consuming and resource
Tell me about
consuming.
it. Tell me about it. So, but it is difficult. You know,
But
marriage in this age is as difficult as it's ever been.
well, the thing is because we're given all these choices, and I think people are basically more morally and intellectually corrupt than they were before, because
Oh, of
you
course.
try and explain things to them, they should get it, but they'll just pretend not to get it, and 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 I suppose they think, well, you can't make me concede that you've won the argument. I'll just, or I'll just keep pretending that I don't know what you're on about. When you say words like matriarchy, it's like, what's that? It doesn't mean what you say it means, And I'm saying, if you live in a matriarchy, it was caused by feminism. It was caused by feminism bribing men with cheap sex in order to allow feminism to continue. Because, if it is true that men are motivated primarily by sex, then they will keep accepting the bribes of feminism. So they won't
Of course,
marry.
men are motivated by sex. Men are motivated by sex, and that's exactly where feminism is going to destroy us. Is that we can't really men have lost self control in that sense. I mean, even the guys I work with. I mean, I work at for student accommodations here in Manchester for the university, and I work with older gentlemen who do maintenance, and there's a lot of young girls running around, and just seeing how they're not married themselves, and just seeing how they can't help but look at them or comment and things like that. Every time they're like, yeah, men are totally driven by the appearance of women, you know,
Yeah, and
and if we can't control that, feminism is only going to exploit it.
yeah, but the thing is, it's actually true that we can be
Very good.
sluts. We can be.
Waiting.
Yeah, no, I'm just on the phone.
Are you going out?
No, I'm on the phone.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Apologise. It's really well about today, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty nice.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Um, yeah, and I think really.
Taxi. I'm going out. A taxi. I'll see you later.
Yep, have a good day. Sorry, I'm in the communal area of my flat.
Oh, okay. And I was just saying that men really have no, men basically have to take whatever women there are. Whether we're sluts or virgin brides, you have to take us as we come, and be grateful for it. I think unless you change the rules, and so the best way of changing the rules, and making marriage a good bargain for men again is to talk about abolishing no fault divorce and making it something
Wait,
that
abolishing what kind of divorce?
no fault divorce.
No fault. They don't have that here in the UK, do they?
Well, technically, I think they do now, and even when it wasn't official, it was basically that yeah, you can find a reason to get a divorce, and you have to wait a bit, and then you get it. But the divorce settlement doesn't reflect the behaviour of the parties. So
Mm.
I'm basically saying that if you make it a contract, a partnership contract, where there is disgrace or some lowering of your status if your marriage fails, people will take it seriously. Otherwise, it'll be people just saying, "It didn't work out. We just grew apart," and you know, some casual remark like that to make it okay to just get married casually and casually get divorced, which obviously is not acceptable if the matrimonial property is divided 50-50, and there was an unequal contribution.
Mm.
So
Yeah, but I think they have something like that in the Asian community. The Asian community, they don't, not far east, because I know. I think when I say Asian, people in the UK know what I'm talking about. Because you say Asian in the United States, people think Far East Asians, not
I
South.
think Indians and Pakistanis, right?
Yeah, yeah, okay. So in their community, um, they rarely divorce as well, but that also has like a negative. Uh, there's a downside to that about not. Well, I guess that's not. I guess even when there's a fault, they don't divorce. So I guess it's not the same as no fault divorce. But
Well, I, okay, I'm trying to say that in the old days, um, I mean,
oh,
actually, I know.
what I was mentioning, one of the reasons why divorce, what I was trying to get at, one of the reasons why divorce doesn't happen in that community so often is because it's not for a divorced woman isn't looked upon highly,
Yeah, yeah,
and
because
so
it's like better the devil you know. What you're going to do. You're going to, you'll just suffer worse if you divorce because nobody wants you with your kids or whatever.
exactly, exactly. And so that kind of compels women to stay in these marriages. But I don't think it's the same for men. Although the one thing that my wife told me before we got married is that don't tell my people that you were in a previous marriage because they might not look highly up at that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, understandably, it's like, oh, I mean, obviously, the more failed marriages you have in your life, the less likely you are to make a success of the current one, because, this is kind of a statistical thing. But I
Yeah.
suppose,
And I see it, and I see why too. I see why you can't help but make a comparison sometimes with how things used to be and how things are right now.
yeah, it's sort of like, the more relationships you've had, the more relationships you're likely to have.
Exactly. And then, they say the same thing about women. I don't know, women who engage in premarital sex. So I haven't seen the study for men, but that depending on how many partners she's had, it will make it harder for her to have a successful marriage. But
Yeah,
then I saw something weird in it. Like it said something like if you've had three partners, you'll have more of a success. There were some problems in the study that I didn't understand. Like something like if you have three partners, you'll have more of a successful marriage than if you have zero partners. But if you have two, you'll have. So I don't. It was weird, but you can look at the study for yourself. There was some truth to it, but the way that they were doing that, I didn't understand it. You have three, that's more successful than having no partners. Uh, but if you have two or you have four, that's going to be least successful. Then it was confusing, but you can look it up though.
I suppose maybe okay, you don't marry the first person who offers, but I suppose you maybe have a better idea of relationships if you've had a few but not too many relationships, so you know how to deal with the current one. maybe.
And I think it also depends on how the relationship went as well. You
Hmm.
know, like was it just you were sleeping around, or you was it serious? You know, how it ended. Did it end in a decent way to where okay, you understand that hey, well, we just weren't meant for each other. You know, did it leave with the person leaving you and you weren't entirely ready to end it, and then you just go into your next relationship with this baggage and it affects the current relationship you're in, and you know, so I think there's a lot of factors that have to do with it more than what the study was showing. So
Yeah,
yeah, so people in relationships is a difficult one. You just when you think you know, you don't know.
yeah, and extra complications enter when the rules change.
Yeah. Because right now, one of the problems I'm dealing with is that even though my wife is black, I'm black, you know, yes, it's different cultures and stuff like that. Um, and I think that's really the problem. You know, sometimes cultural differences are just as hard to deal with than interracial differences because you can be different race and have the same culture. You know,
Yeah,
like
it's
what
the
you see in
same
the United States.
outlook.
Same outlook, exactly. But then when there's cultural differences, yeah, those can be just as difficult.
Yes, I mean, Orthodox Jews call this thing hashkafa, which is worldview. So even within the Orthodox community, it's like, it could be a problem if you don't agree about, these particular rules, if you don't have the same interpretation of it, I guess. And
Hmm.
because people can argue about these things. And I once did a marriage preparation course, which is really to interview couples to see if they're all right, and they do this questionnaire and stuff, and I kind of talk them through it. And this was run by a Catholic agency. And it was kind of saying, well, even marriages between Christians of the same race could be a problem if they're from different churches. So so and there was quite a lot of emphasis on that. I seem to remember. So yeah, we could. There might be a problem if
Hmm.
people don't agree about the objectives of the relationship, I guess, or how to bring up children, or how many to have, and that kind of thing, I guess.
You know what? Even if you agree on that stuff, sometimes just your outlook, just your general outlook on life, you know, the things you're interested in. And, you know, I think when people get married, there's a lot of things that they don't factor in, which lead to divorce. You know, everything is okay in the beginning. Then, you know, once the honeymoon period is over, then reality settles in. You know, things look differently.
Yeah, and I guess that there's always communication problems, and also I guess even within a marriage, people your marriage partner might not completely understand what you are trying to tell him or her.
Oh yeah,
Even though,
definitely.
it's like,
Even
I've
if they
told you
want
so
to.
many times, why are you still doing it? What's wrong with you? Kind of thing.
Oh, I get that all the time. You weren't listening. Were you listening to me? I just told you to do such and such, and you're not even doing it. You're doing the opposite of that. I know you don't listen to me. Yeah, I get it a lot. You know, but yeah, that's what me and my wife are dealing with. You know, pretty much just cultural differences that we're trying to hash out, and things that I really didn't think about before marriage. You know, I think too many times you think because the person's the same skin color as you have the same, you know, at least from a black perspective, you have the same skin color as me. You might have the same outlook in life, but not necessarily. Culture matters. Culture definitely matters.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if it's a mixed race marriage, then people will notice that you look different, and then they'll be saying things that might be hurtful. But it's like, yeah, you have to be prepared. If your spouse is a different race to you, you will look like an odd couple, right? People won't be expecting you to be married to each other.
No, yeah, they won't.
So,
Yeah, like my
and
last
they'll,
wife, my first wife was a Filipino, German Polish or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Her German Polish side came from the Kingdom of Bohemia,
Oh,
and I think so. They had German. But yeah, when her great grandfather moved to the United States, he moved from the Kingdom of Bohemia, and so I know that there's
that sounds
Slavic people that
romantic.
what the Kingdom of Bohemia
Yeah,
or
yeah, it sounds like a fairy story or something.
I know, I know, but no, he just moved to North Dakota and ended up becoming a cowboy. Uh, so I don't think they don't really focus on that part of their history anymore. More so just like yeah, cowboy boots and cow and yeah, farming. But yeah, we did yeah. People didn't think we were together. People didn't think we were together. More so with her parents because her mom was a Filipino, a dark skinned Filipino, and her dad was like this German Polish looking guy, and they would get that a lot when they went places. People would talk to him not knowing that that's his wife right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
So
we
yeah,
could.
it comes with the territory. You do have to expect to be treated a certain way by people in your group, and I guess the people outside your group who you married into. Because again, I get it. I'm telling you, I get it from Somalis. I mean, when I'm around,
What, she's
uh,
married to you?
yeah, yeah, I don't think anybody said because fortunately, within her immediate family, um, her brother married an African American woman. Her older brother married an African American woman first.
Uh huh.
So, I think her family isn't like that. But
Right.
her family friends, maybe other people in the community, just the looks, or the confusion that when they first see us or find out that we're together, you know.
Well, I guess
And then yeah, also them clicking with my other in-laws. That's the one thing that me and my wife and I talked about was how my other in-laws, her siblings who married Somali people, except for her older brother, just seeing how they all interact, and sometimes I just feel like I'm the odd one out. Like I just don't kind of get what you guys are I don't get what you guys are on about, or how is this funny, or did I miss something, like,
yeah.
but yeah, I am gonna have to go. I have some plans today, but thank you for inviting me on. I really wasn't doing anything at the time, so
Great, great. So maybe we can take this idea of objectively assessing whether who won the argument. I mean, I've got a favourite one, and I'm going to be sending that video to you and saying, "Who do you think won the argument?" And then you can say, so Conops did, or the other guy did, or John Vance did. So and I know you're kind of talk. You guys are kind of talking to him.
was it all of you guys on a live chat? Did I miss
Yeah,
that or
yeah,
something?
yeah. It's actually a video, and
John Vance, Conops, you.
I think it was one of the longer streams, and it was Conops and John Vance having an argument,
Oh
and
yeah, I got to hear this.
I actually timestamped it, so I'm going to send it to you, and then you can say, who won. You have to say, you think X or Y won the argument, and then you have to say why, and then maybe we can talk it through, and I think that will be fun for the people involved.
I like that. I actually think we should do that with any debate that we come across. Just critique it afterwards.
Yeah,
Kind of see that way we can unpack it and have a better understanding of maybe who won, who actually won the debate. But Conops needs to pick if he wants to be a serious uh, person as far as his engagement, or he wants to be a full out troll because he's like somewhere in the middle. Seems
yeah.
like he trolls, but then he comes with a serious. He can be very serious at times with conversing with you.
Yeah, the thing is, because he uses a fake name, he thinks he can say anything he likes, so we can't take him seriously, and he doesn't, I guess, want to be taken seriously. And I think, deep down, I think, he will be racist and whatever, if it is a culture and if it profits him to be racist or sexist or whatever, he will be that. This is what I really think of him. You know that.
Okay, I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that he's more principled than that. I do think that he might have an affinity for people who look like himself more than people who don't, which is to a certain extent understandable. Uh,
Oh yeah,
but
I
about
totally
him,
sympathise.
but about him having a lot of different names, that definitely kind of makes people not take him as serious. Like I was on Zubita's live yesterday, and I couldn't for the life of me I could not distinguish if this person was Conops or not. It was like some Spanish sounding name, but the way the dude was responding to Zubita or talking to Zubita, I thought it was Conops or typing anyway. I thought it was him. I couldn't think, but he's had so many names before. The one with Anne Frank, the one with Hillary. Uh, so, but yes, he's a cool dude. John Vance is decent as well, but he's in our Istakama Ibadi group trying to push white nationalists, Fox News. Uh,
I know it's a funny, yeah. I think we actually are quite a diverse bunch when we think about it, and maybe
we are.
diversity will be our strength.
It is because if you look at our audience, just all of our audience combined, it's like what people who probably wouldn't even come together. I mean, to be honest, if somebody had said that I'd be engaging with the people I engage with over YouTube like 4 months ago, I wouldn't have believed them. You know,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
John Vance is an interesting dude. Some white Muslims, we have a white Muslim in our Istiqamah group that don't even want to deal with him because of his leanings.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, what I find so annoying about him is that he slips back into Christianity.
Yeah,
That sort of 6 minute video he was doing. It's like, what are you doing? You become a Seventh Day Adventist or something? You know.
yeah.
So
He seems a bit on. He's in the middle. He's on a lot of fences.
yes,
I
yes,
can't even say he's on the fence. He's on a lot of
I
fences.
know.
Hopefully I've been there before. Hopefully he reconciles because he has a lot of conflicting things going on. He was saying Alhamdulillah and all praise to God and stuff like that, but then he wanted to end the prayer. I'm not trying to clown any or anything like that. I really like John, but I'm just hoping that he kind of straightens himself out or at least picks a side. But then he ended. He wanted to end in a prayer, and he opened it up with "Dear Heavenly Father," and Muslims don't use the whole father thing. So.
Yes.
But I tried to turn him on to Rob. I hope Rob doesn't think that I'm just trying to give him. I hope Rob doesn't think I'm trying to set him up.
No,
By
I think so many people really are so directionless, and I think having a group of people with at least something in common, such as Islam,
yeah,
would be helpful, because I know
it
that
would.
he has to repress his Muslim identity with the CNP,
Yeah.
because of what they are. So
And see, that's what I'm saying. It would be better if you're white and you're Muslim just to be known in your community. That's the biggest problem I have with white Muslims is that when they convert to Islam, it's like they totally disregard the community they came from. Yes, they probably look at you very differently than say if a black person was to convert to Islam and go back to his community. Yes, I know a lot of times if it's kids who convert, the parents make it hard for them, people disown you, but you got to struggle against that. I mean, that's actually the story in the life of the prophet. That his people tried to disown him, cancel him, you know, make him practicing his religion hard and things like that. But he struggled against it, struggled against them, and now look at them. They're flipping 100% Muslim. Maybe not, but at least they profess to be Muslim 100%. You know, so I think white Muslims just need to struggle against that because I will. If it would be better for it would actually also help Muslims if Islam was normalized in the white community, same way that it's normalized in the black community. To where if a black person becomes a Muslim, he doesn't get any type of crap from his family. It's just like okay,
well, you know what? I think there should be a test for white people wanting to become Muslim, which is that they defend Islam as themselves without dressing up or laughing. They just, look normal and dress normal and talk in a normal way, but actually defend Islam if they can.
Yeah,
And if they
yeah.
can't, then they're not fit to become Muslim anyway. So there's no point. But I think you should be able to at least defend yourself, or its
I think Umar
principles,
Ali
or
said something
explain it.
similar. I think Umar Ali said something similar that the bar is too low to let anybody into Islam.
Yeah, because in a way they disgrace Islam by coming in briefly and saying I didn't mean it, I miss
Yeah,
my
yeah,
pub and my people, or
yeah.
whatever.
I know a handful of white Muslims who converted to Islam and eventually left
Yeah, because they think, well, I'm just in with this foreign community and I'm all alone and they treat me bad.
with suspicion. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do treat. I'm telling you, especially more so in the UK, do I see it like if you're just like yeah, there's a certain level of suspicion when you're a white Muslim. They think you're a spy. I mean, even sometimes when you're a black Muslim and say you're not trying to, wear the costume and stuff like that, the thobe and the checker flag scarf,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm telling you, if you just want to wear jeans and a hoodie, I remember going into masjids and people straight up telling me, this isn't a public bathroom." I'm like, I came here to pray. I didn't come here to use the bathroom. I just went here to make wudu, to wash up so I can pray. And I've had people stop me, like, say, "What are you asking me? What are you doing here?" You don't look the part. So I can only imagine how white Muslims get it, and they tell you exactly how they get it too.
Yeah, and really the only way that, this preoccupation with culture as a white convert to Islam, is like, there's no point even worrying about the culture unless you get enough people to join you to make it okay. And the culture will just come anyway, I think.
Yeah,
Because culture is a product of the law and the practice of society. And right now everybody's doing their own thing, so they won't get any stable culture.
yeah.
So yeah.
And that's one of the things in the white community that I notice concerning Islam is that a lot of them believe Islam to be culturally predatory. And even if they might agree with some of the tenets in Islam, they still feel like for them to convert to Islam is going to overshadow the Arab culture, is going to totally just swallow their European identity.
Yeah, but they can't articulate it. It's like, okay, what do you think would happen when, you know, supposing there is Sharia, what do you think is going to happen to your culture? Do you think, all these churches are going to be blown up, or, what? I mean, but they can't seem to articulate, this thing. It's like, do you think you'll be forced to wear Arab clothes and your women, forced to wear the burqa? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, that's
can
what
we
they
just
think. They think we're
articulate
going to have.
what you're afraid of? And they can't.
I think some of the things that you just mentioned, they believe that, a lot of hands are going to be chopped off, and stuff that really, when you really a lot of really a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. That probably wouldn't happen if Europeans massively did convert to Islam. I think, like you said, you're going to see it with the European slant. Um,
I don't think
it
they
won't be
really
some.
believe it either. They just want to, big up their hate and fear by imagining all these horrible things so they can hate you and reject you
Yeah,
because
I think so.
they've
I believe so
monstered
because
you.
a lot of them haven't read the Quran or stuff like that. And even when they do try to attack Islam, what I noticed at a white nationalist rally in Manchester last year was that the only thing that they had to say about Islam was via the Hadith. You know, there wasn't anything they said about the Quran. It wasn't saying, okay, you Muslims here in Manchester are acting like this. They were like, no, Muslims are evil people because look what they believe in according to their Hadith. But Muslim. So yeah, I really I can't wrap my head around it. I was expecting white Muslims to actually step up to the plate, but what I see from white Muslims, I don't think they're actually. To tell the truth, I think me and Palu would be better suited for the job than white Muslims as far
Yeah,
as
they can't even bring
engagement.
themselves to read the Quran anyway. They can't. They're too scared to pick it up. So there's no point
Yeah, they
arguing
might
with
see
them.
something in there they agree with or like.
Well, I think it's been very useful talking to you and Palu. I think you two certainly have given a more thoughtful and nuanced view of Islam than well talking to anybody else so far that I've managed to find.
Yeah, because there's a lot of Islam right now is dominated by Sunni thought, and just to hear maybe different voices from a different school is refreshing. I've heard that from other Muslims as well. Just hearing things different, things other than the usual Sunni dogma, um, is helpful for some people.
It was quite funny when Zubaydah like, Istiqama, what's that? I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't. And so I'm like, why are you even arguing with me? You're arguing with me over baseless assumptions that you have. I mean, yes, they mention our school of thought in some of their books, but a lot of what they mention about our school of thought isn't even true. It's ahistorical for one. Like one of their scholars saying that the Khawarij were the first set or first people to disunite the Muslim community. And a lot of Muslims believe that. They blame the school of thought me and Palu are a part of. We're the reasons why the Muslims are disunited, even though the Muslims were disunited way before our school of thought came along. But so it's an uphill battle for me and Palu dealing with these people. But it's going to be a long march. Hopefully, me and Palu actually get into some type of intellectual warfare with these people, because we are. Anyway, we talked about it. I don't want to. My thoughts aren't all together on it, but I'm hoping to go to war with Zubaydah and Co.
Maybe you should find somebody who's actually an Islamic scholar, so kind of.
I've been looking. We in our group we have a Ibadi scholar, but he doesn't communicate with us as much as we probably like him to. So I've been looking. I've been looking for more people.
I'll give you a few names and see what you think of them.
Okay.
But I mean, okay, the proper Islamic scholars, they kind of don't want to get too involved because they don't
No,
want to be
everybody's
asked
against
awkward questions.
everybody. No, everybody don't want to be considered sectarian, right? By engaging in these type of debates and topics. But I don't think sectarianism is a bad thing. I mean, it exists, and if anything, I think it could be a means for Muslims to compete. I think Muslims really do need to start competing against each other and against other communities. In the Quran, it tells us to compete with each other, doing good, and I'm not trying to, I think for the Muslims, like what I want to see from my school of thought is to compete with the other schools of thought in doing good. But I mean, again, I don't want to go too far off, because again, my thoughts aren't all together with this. But
I just
dealing with
think
no, go ahead.
if okay, for let me start again. I think it would be great if we could have a kind of Quran exam, so people can take it and then say, "Oh, I really know the Quran." You're not going to put one over me by talking any nonsense, and on that basis, people can compete with each other on Quranic knowledge, and then maybe we can find a good debater, to put forward certain points of view, and in this way create a culture of debate.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want to see a culture of debate, because I think it's going to raise the standards and the intellectual standards in the Muslim community. For one, I think this being scared to debate certain points because it comes across as sectarian is detrimental to the growth of the Muslim community, and that actually we see more growth in the Muslim community when different schools of thoughts were debating, active in debating each other. We've seen a synthesis of a lot of these ideas and to create something better.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I think maybe there should a point should be made about avoiding pointless discussions that create division without ever having the hope of being resolved. I'm
Yeah.
sure there are plenty of people who do that, but maybe we should identify. It's like we're not going to talk about that because there's no point. We'll never agree, and there's no one who will tell us which of us is right. So we're not going to touch that subject,
Yeah.
and we'll talk
But
about more
that's
important things.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and that's really where a lot of the Muslim debates fall apart is when they start talking about historical matters that involve politics that will never be settled in this day and age. I mean, basically the Sunni Shia Ibadi split, which is actually what me and Zubida spent most of the time talking about yesterday was, the history of the Khawarij and why they do stuff back then. Like all of this stuff, all those that type of conversation is fruitless. And nobody's going to come away feeling like, okay, this person convinced me that my position was wrong. We're talking about a point in history that involved politics, and everybody's going to see things differently. Not everybody, but groups of people are going to see things differently. And we're not going to agree on something that happened 1,400 years ago. If the best people of that time couldn't agree, I don't think we're going to.
Well, I think don't you think a more useful use of time and energy would be to say to people who um, don't quite get it about Islam is to say that Christianity is kaput. They can't prove that it's still working. We can say liberalism, which in effect replaced Christianity, that's kaput too, and we're living in a time of intersectional feminism, which is why gender relations is in such a bad state. And something needs to be
I,
done.
you, I, I can't say that because of my audience. Most of my friends on Facebook are from California, and they probably agree. They agree or believe in exactly what I'm trying to condemn. You know, um, but yeah, I agree with you in the sense that before the public, it's not useful talking about what happened with Aisha and Ali, and in order for people to really understand what Islam is about, I don't think those type of conversations
Yeah,
are
yeah, it's a
fruitful.
waste of time anyway.
It is a waste of time. So in a sense, I agree with you and see why you get frustrated when you've been on the platform with us and you start talking about like a whole bunch of you know theological points that one person can't know either way. You know.
I think
Um,
it's displacement therapy when people want to do something but they can't, so they do this other thing that won't uh, get them into trouble. I think
yeah.
quite often it's that. So
And that's the one thing that Orientalists have said about Muslim scholars is that it seems like they spend a lot of time engaged in debating uh, in basically impractical topics or topics that really have no relevancy. Like basically just wasting our time talking about things that aren't practical.
yeah. But I mean, I know I'm a political activist, so I sort of go and listen to what people say, and that's not going to help us at all. Um,
Yeah,
because you're basically saying, if you do believe in Islam, it's like we have the solution because your problem is this, and we have the solution, and if they don't quite agree, then you have to persuade them, and that's all
yeah,
that So we have to make sure that we're talking to the right people.
yeah, yeah. Like they have in rap music, is afraid. The game is to be sold, not told. I know some people think when you mention what you're saying is to be sold, not told. People think, oh, you're supposed to sell it, get cash for it. But no, they just mean selling it. You need to make it convincing.
Yeah, persuade
Just
you,
telling people,
convince
yeah,
you.
you got to persuade people. Just telling somebody isn't enough. And that's the one thing that I really don't like about the Muslim community sometimes is that they feel like because I'm saying it and I'm saying that it came from this place, you need to accept it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that they're saying, well, you can't stop, you can't change my mind. I'm not going to agree with you, but there are other people to talk to, and I guess this is all about finding a way around obstacles and maybe
Yeah.
finding a better solution. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now, trying to pull more Muslims into the realm of discussing certain topics. Hopefully, we can hash them out, come up with the synthesis of our ideas, and create something better and move forward.
Well,
But a lot of times I see us going around in circles arguing. That's why I had to leave Zubaida's live stream yesterday, because I'm like, I'm not about to just go over what we went over 2 hours ago. And then, you know,
but I think it's really, not talking amongst ourselves and reaching out to other people who won't agree with us. So I guess you'll have to test your debating skills with non-Muslims, because they obviously have a different religion and they think their religion is better than yours, and you have to somehow persuade them that, okay, they might not concede, because you can say everything that's true and logical, and even according, and dealt with all their objections, but they'll find another one, just to reject you. And this is what I found with Christians, with the narrative of Christ dying for our sins. So, and I'm saying, well, why do you want to believe that? Because in the Quran, there's Jesus. He was raised to God. He didn't die on the cross. He only appeared to die on the cross. So that's a happier ending. But you want him to have died horribly. Why is that?
I know.
And there's no answer. It's like, oh, by the way, the Quran accepts a virgin birth. What's your problem then? What's your problem? It's like, no, we still want to believe that, because we want to worship Jesus as God. But don't you know that's idolatry?
But these non-Muslims might say that the Quran doesn't mention. I would, some people say the Quran doesn't mention the virgin birth.
Well, I found something when you said that. I'll give
Oh yeah,
that
you
to
sent
you.
it. You sent it. Yeah, you sent it. You sent it.
Yeah. So
I seen that by. Do you follow him on? I don't know if he's still active on Facebook, but he's on Facebook. I'm friends with
who's that?
Yusuf Islam or Joseph
Oh, I
Islam.
didn't know. I know that sounds like Cat Stevens, right?
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I thought it was at first too when people first mentioned it to me. Uh, but I think that's his name, Joseph Islam.
Right.
I'm
I
friends
didn't know
with.
that. But okay, I did look up that verse, and it sounds like it's accepting the virgin birth. It was made. The point was made in a rhetorical way, and somebody who was teaching about Islam said, "Oh, but Muslims accept the virgin birth." So that's what I've been saying. But
Yeah, I mean, you're not lying though. Muslims do accept the virgin birth.
so
It's just that there's a certain reading, that I came across this from a Quranist. So Quran is they don't believe in the tradition or hadith, and they just read the Quran. So that's what he was saying, and he
oh
pointed out some
right.
things that made sense. That's why Quranists actually have some interesting and decent ideas, but it's just them totally abandoning themselves from the tradition is what I find problematic.
Well,
But how they
I mean, it's in theory possible to have a virgin birth, now, right? I mean, it's possible with artificial insemination and turkey basters and that kind of thing. It's in theory possible to have a virgin birth. I mean, oops, did Tehran leave?
but there's two of me now. It looks like.
Yes, two of you. But my question was that virgin births are in theory possible. So I suppose, and I guess the political reason for the Quran acknowledging the virgin birth is obvious. It's like saying Christians come to us, we respect Jesus, we accept the virgin birth. What's your problem? So if Christians who want to believe in God come over to Islam, they're not giving up anything. It's not like Muslims are
Yeah,
hating Jesus and
I
Mary.
was a Christian that came to Islam, and I feel like I didn't give up anything. If anything, I only gained more. You know, um, yeah. If anything, I only gained more. I mean, believing in the Prophet Muhammad. When you look at him in relation to all the other prophets, isn't asking too much. Actually doing the rituals that you see the prophets and people in the Bible doing is definitely a plus, because that was one of the things that attracted me to Islam. Like, okay, well, Christians claim to believe in these prophets and holy men, but when you look at their actions and the actions of the people they claim to believe in don't match up. And then, at least with Muslims in an outward sense, it does.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Quran has basically, dealt with all their problems. It's like, no, we're not, going to disrespect Jesus or Mary. So, the, all the objections have been done away with, But I know that the ex-Christians who want to convert to Judaism, probably because of their Islamophobia, I suppose, because it's a harder religion, and Jews are snootier than Muslims about converts too.
Mm.
So and also Jews are known for hating Jesus, and their Talmud, in their Talmud there are references to Jesus probably being the illegitimate son of a Roman soldier, or and
Yeah, yeah,
references to him being boiling in excrement for eternity. So they don't
yeah,
like him.
yeah. I don't-
But there's no. Okay, I can only explain this phenomenon as well. These ex-Christians who
Oh,
convert to
Claire,
Judaism.
my phone is about to die.
Okay, okay,
I'm
I
at one
won't talk anymore.
percent.
But I'll finish my point after you. Thanks for
Please,
coming.
no, or no, or finish your point. I'll still like to hear it.
Okay,
If not, I'll just catch it when I
okay.
charge my phone.
I've forgotten what I was saying now.
Christians going to Judaism, and then you were
Oh
mentioning
yes, yes.
about Jesus mentioned in the Talmud.
So ex-Christians who go to Judaism have a harder mountain to climb because we know that Jews are, very anti-Jesus,
Yeah,
and the Talmud has said, things about Mary and Jesus. So, and I think the reason why they prefer Judaism is a kind of cultural snobbery,
yeah,
because they're more
and
used to
a
Jews,
lot of
and they think Muslims are just fresh off the boat.
I know that's why it would be helpful if we had like some type of Judeo-Islamic Christian uh, concept, just like the Judeo-Christian, which kind of made things, more tolerable, made relations easier for Jews and Christians, because they use that term. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to sort of pull it all together by saying, really, Jews should just give Islam a kind of no hide certificate, and then there would be the beginnings of an improvement in the rule of law, just better government, because at the moment things are just getting worse. But I know there are some Muslims who hate Jews so much that say, well, we don't need their approval. We don't need them to do anything for us.
yeah, yeah.
And we don't accept their status as the chosen people, so they have nothing to offer us, and we don't want anything to do with them. We don't want to ask them or engage with them.
But see, and that's why I think what you're saying about getting Jews to classify Islam as a Noahide religion in public, I think that's genius, because a lot of the discussions I hear between Muslims and Jews is very cringy. Like the one I sent you with Ali Dawa talking to Jews. Yeah, it starts off asking questions. What do you believe about this? But then it ends up with Muslim trying to convert the Jew to Islam by saying, "Oh, how come you don't believe in the Prophet Muhammad? Why don't you believe he was a real prophet?" and stuff like that. When really, what they should try to do is get Jews to rank. Ask if Jewish people if Islam is a Noahide religion, and where does it rank among Noahide religions in the world?
Yeah.
That would be, I would like to see a Jewish person answer that at the request of a Muslim. That would be very interesting to see. And I think that it would kind of ease tensions, because then the Muslim could go away. Okay, well, he considers my religion to be a Noahide religion, the top one amongst them all. I think the Muslim might start looking at the Jew in a more favorable light. And likewise, Jewish people might start looking at Muslims and Islam in a more favorable light. Because where you might find some Jews who have no problem with Islam and love Muslims and stuff like that, you find some Jews who really have negative things to say about Islam when there's a lot of overlap between the two.
So you do have an Orthodox community in your city. So I
Of
said,
course, my wife and I, we were trying to go to the Jewish museum that's here in Manchester and talk to the rabbi, learn about the Jewish history in Manchester and stuff like that. But it's under construction right now, and it'll be finished later this year, or if not, the beginning of next year.
uh,
And it actually looks really nice.
great. And there's also a Beth Inn in Manchester, and they have a website.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look it up. I only knew about the Jewish um, museum that they have.
Yeah, that's sort of a list of the Dayan, the judges of the Beth Din. So they might be possibilities. I don't know. I mean, they're actually religiously obliged to teach the Noahide laws, or if they forget, you can always remind them. That they're supposed to discuss it. They should be prepared to discuss it. They may not rank it, but anyway, once you get them engaged, I guess all things are possible.
Yeah. We just need more rabbis like the one you spoke to. Um,
Oh yes,
even though he
Rabbi
said some,
Kaufman.
yeah, Kaufman. Even though he said some negative things about Islam, and he didn't really say anything negative. He just wasn't too convinced by it. I've heard that before, so it's not too off-putting. But if we have more rabbis like him and Tobias Singer, definitely, I think
Yeah, I mean
I
the
believe
thing.
them two are capable.
Yeah, because I think they need to rank it, because what they're complaining about in Israel is that these missionaries go into Israel and convert Jews into Christianity. And it's an outrage, for them, and it's done at the collusion of the prime minister and even the chief rabbi. The chief rabbi saying, yeah, you can do this, to Jews in Israel. So that's what they're so angry about. But it does suggest that they haven't been teaching the Noahide laws properly to their own people, let alone Gentiles, right?
Yeah, because as a Jew, how could you be convinced of Christianity? That is like such a, nothing against Christianity in that sense, but that's a huge backslide.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, the only way to make it clear to people is that you have to rank the four Gentile religions. So at least people will know. Oh, that's the one at the bottom. Why would we convert to that? You know, it would be a kind of warning sign, right?
Hmm.
And then they can say, oh, but why? And then we can say idolatry and blasphemy, and that's how it was defined originally by the Jews. Idolatry, was a Jewish idea. I mean, they were the ones who said don't do it. I mean, as far as we can remember, because of the golden calf and everything. I mean, recorded anyway. Maybe they knew before the Torah was revealed not to practice idolatry, but the actual divine prohibition doesn't exist anywhere else.
So okay. I would have to. Yeah, I guess if you take it from that sense, but then I think they might argue that
Well,
idolatry is
Abraham. Okay,
routine.
Abraham did destroy the idols of his father, right? That's the
Yeah.
story. So I guess he was one who had this big idea, but
No, but then again, Noah predated Abraham from what we believe, and Noah was dealing with the same thing. I mean, I don't know how it's framed because I can't remember Noah in the Bible or the Torah, but Noah in the Quran was dealing with idol worship, and from the tradition, some holy men died, and they built a statue of them to commemorate them, and then eventually, as time went on, people forgot that these statues were only meant to commemorate these holy men, and where later generations started worshiping these statues.
I always wait when you say that. I think of Mount Rushmore. I just think maybe some archaeologists of the future will say, "Oh my God, the Americans worship their presidents," and then their civilization died when they stopped.
Yeah, that would make sense. I could see that happening.
Okay.
And then they look at our dollar bills and God we trust and has George Washington's face under it.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many things that you think, people could think that, and they would, be within reason to think that, and
Yeah.
we don't want them to think that.
So that's why that part, even though I think it's more so in the tradition that the people of Noah did that, it made sense to me because I can see how. And I was actually talking to somebody who kind of mentioned something like that. Well, what if my grandfather gave me a watch, and in order to remember my grandfather every time I wore this watch, and that was actually similar to what happened with the statues that the people of Noah ended up worshiping. They were using these statues to commemorate holy men, and then later generation understood it the wrong way. So
Is that in the Quran? Is that in the Quran? I don't remember that story. I'll have to look it up.
I'll look. I'll look. I know in the tradition that's what they mentioned.
Uh-huh.
In the Quran, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I mean, that's a brilliant story. So I just wanted to know a bit more. If you have a link, if you could send that
Yeah, I'll
one.
send it. Yeah, no, the tradition are full of stories about the prophets that are like this. Honestly, I think a lot of the tradition stories like that found in our tradition are very interesting. Just like the one with Moses and Al Khidr. The story is in chapter 18, I think, what, 62 to 83 or something like that, or yeah, 62 to 83 or something like that. And it's about Moses and this holy man. And the background story that you find in the tradition is, I found to be interesting because Moses was preaching to the Israelites, and some guy said, like, Moses, you think you're the most knowledgeable man? Moses, like, yes, I am the most knowledgeable. And then God corrected him by saying, no, you're not the most knowledgeable man on earth. And then he introduced him to a man who is more knowledgeable than him. Um, and there's a story that goes behind it that weaves in the Quranic verses and stuff like that. It's really interesting anyway.
Well, I look forward to that.
Yeah, you can find it maybe if I find the PDF, stories of the prophets.
Uh huh.
And even if you don't read the traditions that are in there, just having the Quranic verses put together, like say all the Quranic verses about Abraham, all the Quranic verses about Noah put into a story, a story format
Mm.
is useful.
Yes.
Just so you can see from the Quran how the story went without actually having to read the whole Quran and get bits and pieces here, bits and pieces there, and then put it together yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's but yeah, I'll find the PDF.
Great.
That way, if you want to know about Abraham, what he did in the Quran, how that played out, it's all there. Noah, any of the other prophets.
Cool. Cool. All right then. I'll let you go and get on with your plans for the day. I hope I
Yeah,
haven't kept you too long, but it's been, well, I've enjoyed it anyway.
yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Hope to talk to you soon, Taron.
Oh, definitely, we will.
Take
Enjoy the
care.
rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.